Today, we're going to be talking about moving from reactive to strategic, rethinking B2B email marketing. My name is Jeff Rovner. I'm the head of client ops at 2 Octobers. I also manage our email marketing programs across B2B and B2C clients in a number of different industries. Today, I'm going to talk about how you can level up your B2B email marketing program. And a lot of what I talk about will also apply to B2C, but I've structured this presentation specifically for B2B. I'll cover rethinking goals and metrics, modernizing setup to give yourself more options, building targeted emails aligned with your buyer needs, and optimizing results with high-value testing and analysis. A couple of notes on a few acronyms that I'll use frequently in this presentation. MQL refers to marketing qualified lead. Those are typically fresh leads that have been qualified for marketing efforts. SQL refers to sales qualified leads, and those are ready to be handed off to the sales team generally is what that refers to. And of course, B2B means business to business and B2C means business to consumer. So let's jump in. I want to start by first talking about the value of a B2B email marketing program. For most companies, it's not a question of whether you're using email in marketing efforts, but rather how much focus and resources does your program get? Email is a critical way to fill the gap between channels that drive leads and your sales team. Your marketing efforts are driving leads through your website or other marketing platforms, but generally those leads aren't immediately ready to take the next step to be handed off to the sales team, for instance. You can use email to progress leads or customers along your buyer journey. The most common example I'll use today is working to convert MQLs or marketing qualified leads into SQLs, sales qualified leads. Now, the return on email marketing is generally estimated at 35 to 40x, so that's a pretty significant ROI. Let's start by talking about establishing targeted goals. We generally don't want goals to be based on engagement or nurturing alone. While those are positive outcomes, that's not a goal to center email efforts on. I should say as a caveat that I think newsletters can definitely have a place in an overall email strategy, but we don't want to depend on them as a means to move leads along your buyer journey. When you think about goals, it's important to define what success looks like for your company. What are you really trying to accomplish with your email program? Is the end goal SQLs? Is it renewals? Is it revenue, etc.? And thus, we want to evaluate email programs based on the metrics that matter for your company. So we want to transition to orienting email programs around higher level metrics. So I want to draw a distinction between surface metrics like open rate, click rate, engaged subscribers, and what I'll call success metrics like SQLs, demo signups, account activations, etc. And it's not that open rate and click rate aren't helpful metrics. It's just that there's a danger in focusing on them too much. For best results, you really want to focus on what's going to drive more of those success metrics. Another key area to prioritize is data quality. This can have a pretty significant impact on the success of your email program. It's important to work to collect more complete information on your contacts and leads whenever possible. There are different methods for accomplishing this, but however you do it, doing this provides tremendous value. Relatively, we want to be working towards building systems that are integrated. And what I mean by that is your website with the lead form is integrated with your email marketing platform, which is integrated with your CRM as one example. It could be different for you, but the idea is integrating those systems a little bit better. And that'll help ensure that you get leads in your email platform faster and emails can go out to those leads sooner. And you hopefully get more information about your contacts added to their records as well. And lastly, you want to establish processes to keep your lead records up to date. That means keeping lead statuses accurate and updating demos with new information when available. Let's look at a couple example records to illustrate this point. So in record number 1, you've got full name, you've got email address, you've got company name. This is the data you get in a typical lead submission form, and it's a good starting point. However, contrast that with record number 2, where you've also got job title, industry, buyer motivation. You may have enough information in record number 1 to know if they're qualified, but think about the additional options you have in crafting an effective email with the extra information in record number 2. Keeping that example in mind, let's move to the next area, which is segmenting audiences. You want to look for opportunities to segment your list based on demos relevant to your business. This can be by product, job title, or industry. If you're a business with, say, two main types of services, of course, you'd want to segment audiences by what service a lead is interested in, if you can. But within those segments, are there different areas like industry where it might make sense to segment further? That type of segmentation allows for more effective messaging and better performance tracking. And by performance tracking here, I mean having an idea of how different pockets of your leads perform to understand where there might be additional opportunities. However, it's also important to be intentional about how and when you create segments. Just because you can create another segment doesn't mean you need to. The question should be, do you think this potential new segment has different pain points or needs or would react differently to your messaging? One good example I want to highlight is a success story about Zendesk and how they've used segmentation. We didn't work on this one, but I think it's a good example that sort of illustrates this. They send out a case study to leads, and that case study is tailored to specific industries. And they've had a lot of success driving conversions with that approach. That's a very basic example, but it's a good illustration of the value of segmentation. The next level I want to talk about is leveraging workflows. So workflow is a sequence or a series of emails structured around specific actions or attributes, like a form fill. So a new lead would get dropped into an automated workflow, which could consist of 4 to 8 emails over 30 to 90 days as one example. You also want to map out workflows based on how users progress in your buyer journey. The most common example for B2B is a lead progressing to an SQL, but your buyer journey could have multiple segments that are more complex than just marketing qualified lead to sales qualified lead. Additionally, when you create multiple audience segments, you'll generally want to set up multiple workflows. More on that in a minute. Each workflow should have unique defined goals. Generally, that's a metric measuring how many of your contact records convert by moving from point A to point B, from a lead to whatever your end goal is. And to that end, you should focus on conversion rate as the first order metric to evaluate performance. Next, let's talk about messaging to support your email workflows. You want to try to customize messaging to your audience and to your workflow. And a great place to start is to use input from your sales team to understand buyer questions and pain points. This is an extremely valuable source of information to build into your emails. Ideally, your sales team can provide specific information for different audience segments as well. It's also important to customize messaging themes based on your audience segments. This is a key advantage to that list segmentation we were talking about. The most effective way of talking to leads for one of your key industries may be very different from another key industry. The same could apply for a job title or product type. Also think about how to sequence emails based on differentiators that you want to highlight. Consider the key attributes you want to make sure to include in the emails. And relatedly, you should build a logical flow to the emails when we're talking about the workflow. This gets back to thinking about your audience's motivations and pain points. Once you've established your messaging themes and outlined the key differentiators that you want to highlight, the next step is to create the emails. If you use AI for creating email copy, and that's becoming more and more common, be sure to pull in your brand's voice and tone. Otherwise, there's a danger in the email coming across as flat or inauthentic. We've created custom GPTs that have produced targeted on-brand content, pulling in that sort of brand information more recently. It's also important to design email templates to effectively present information and resources to answer your questions. Put yourself in your buyer's shoes. Does the email answer the question or the pain point you're trying to address in the email? What layout or content sequence could you use to do it more effectively? And that's a good lead into the next topic, which is testing with a purpose. You should generally move beyond tests like slight variations of subject lines. That doesn't mean you can never do subject line tests, only that a goal to simply improve open rate generally isn't a high value test. Instead, work to devise tests that can have a significant impact on conversion rates. That could mean an adjustment across multiple emails or switching out one of the pain points or differentiators that you focus on in an email series. Think about the changes to get contacts to take more of the actions you want them to. For instance, what adjustment might result in a lead clicking to watch a video more often or visit a key area of your website at a higher rate? It could be a subject line change or a change in the format of an email. And lastly, it's important to regularly review and evaluate your email program. These are some of the questions to look at on a quarterly basis. First and most importantly, is the conversion rate for your workflows improving? Are you hitting your goal? And if you're not hitting your goal, what are some of the ways you might improve performance? I want to add a couple notes here on MQL to SQL conversion rates. What constitutes a good conversion rate is going to vary by industry, so benchmarking is a good first step. Conversion rates often range from 15 to 35% for email marketing, but can be higher than that. You'll also want to make sure you account for the length of your buyer cycle when calculating this metric. Next, are there pockets of your audience performing differently? This could reflect an opportunity to better customize messaging or test different approaches for certain segments. Also be sure to check in with your sales team for new customer pain points and questions. Keeping your emails aligned with those sort of changes is crucial for maintaining or hopefully improving results. If there's a new question they've started to hear frequently or a new pain point that they've been hearing about, that could be a great idea for a new test. And then you should also use those findings to build out plans for the upcoming quarter. Where are there opportunities to reevaluate audience segments? What testing ideas did this review spark? And that's a great way to sort of flow into your testing plan for the next quarter.